Today's podcast is sponsored by AMAC, the only conservative alternative to AARP. Join today at amac.us/Carter. Happy New Year, everyone. Are you excited? I'm excited. I'm so excited for 2023. 2022 is just behind us, and now we're only a year away until salvation, which is a new president. Please, God, bring that on. Bring that on. Ready. I'm ready for it. But we're going to have to cover the news, right? We're going to have to cover the news for the upcoming year. And I'm just going to pray that things will not get worse than they have been under President Biden. I'm going to just have to pray for that. I will be sharing my New Year's resolutions. Yes, I have some. And responding to your comments and reminiscing about the craziest stories of 2021. And if you all didn't hear my last podcast, I had Dean Cain on. He was, Santa's top elf this year and Superman as well. And there were a lot of things we had to say. So if you didn't hear that last podcast, I hope you do get a chance to listen to it. I'm excited for the new year of the Sara Carter Show as well. And I'm so grateful for all the support we have had from you in 2023. I think it's just going to continue to grow. We're going to go to so many new places. I have so many great ideas about what we need to cover. And I want to go beyond the politics, right? Although I do love covering the swamp and exposing these swamp rats, I want to go beyond that. There are so many interesting people and places in the world, and I want to start doing things like that in 2023. That is a real New Year's resolution for me. A very serious one. I think we're going to bring back Lou Elizondo. We're going to and remember him. He's the former head of ATIP. He has been the biggest voice on exposing and declassifying UFOs, unidentified flying objects. I thought he was awesome. I thought we could do really cool stuff, like even on Halloween, like maybe go to a haunted house, stay the whole night there. I know my producers are probably like, what are we talking about? Like we could go with ghost hunters or something. I don't know. We're going to have fun this year. We're going to have fun. We're going to do things that are fun, and we're going to make this an exciting podcast year. That's going to be my New Year's resolution for the podcast and for all of you out there listening. Hey, everyone, please follow and subscribe. Get all the links at saracarter.com, saracarter.com. And while you're there, sign up for our email list so that you don't get shadow banned. Also, please subscribe to my new documentary podcast. It's Dark Wars, The Border. It's been getting incredible reviews. I love all the reviews that you're writing. That is part of expanding this show so that we bring you the information that you need directly to you. We bring you the truth. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We interview the most important people involved when it comes to these subjects. And we also take you on a journey that I don't believe you are going to get anywhere else. Please visit our website at darkwarspod.com. That is darkwarspod.com for the latest information. Now, you all know how much I love Mike Lindell and My Pillow. I absolutely love it. And this Christmas was a big success with all the My Pillow products, but it doesn't end there. It didn't end with Christmas. Mike still has so many great specials for you. He has so many great products for you. This is an American company that actually delivers American products. And for a limited time, go to mypillow.com and you will get the 6-piece towel set, regularly $89.98, now for only $39.98. Can you believe that? At mypillow.com/Carter. Remember that, mypillow.com/Carter. Use the promo code Carter. There you'll find deep discounts on all My Pillow products and get your 6-piece My Pillow towel set for, guess what? Only $39.98. Only $39.98. Shop mypillow.com/Carter, promo code Carter. That's mypillow.com/Carter. Happy New Year's, Mike Lindell. I'm so excited to be selling your products. It's just great and everyone loves them. So we're going to talk about some of the craziest stories in 2022. Remember the DHS Disinformation Board? Remember that? By Nina Jankowicz? It was going to be led by her. I mean, this is just the craziest story ever. I mean, first of all, it was so 1984. It was like the government, which actually commits the most disinformation fraud in the world, was going to have a disinformation board to tell us what we could and could not post on social media or write about or talk about. So crazy that was even a discussion. And actually, it's only been tabled, guys. They haven't even really gotten rid of that idea. That's just been tabled because they were caught. And you know the reason they were caught? Because they called it the DHS Disinformation Board. And by the way, Nina Jankowicz was a complete nut. I mean, it was like Sam Britton, right? Remember the nuclear waste guy who glowed green and wore dresses and then was stealing women's luggage at the airport and had been caught by the police and finally fired from the Biden administration? Well, I want you to listen to Nina Jankowicz. She was famous for her disinformation, quote unquote, song to the tune of supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Listen to this craziness.
Wandering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie, It's how you hide a little lie, It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared bad intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain. They're laundering disinfo and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice or vote. Oh, information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origin seems slightly less atrocious.
Wow. I live in, I'm going to have to use the word, in upside down land. This cannot be America. I'm just like, I mean, I haven't heard that song in a while. And now I realize like how sick it made me feel. I'm sorry to put you all through that, but you had to hear that. That literally, Nina Jankowicz was literally going to head the DHS Disinformation Board. Do you feel like you just woke up in an alterverse? If some of you feel that way, definitely write me and tell me, because I just can't believe that in the United States of America, where we have a Constitution and a First Amendment, I just heard some crazy woman, Nina Jankowicz, sing a song telling me that she's going to be the authority over me to know what I am supposed to read or write or talk about in the United States of America. That is completely insane. Thankfully, after the backlash, the DHS canceled, like I said, the Disinformation Board, and that was on August 24th, 2022, but it was actually tabled. They canceled it. But everyone I've talked to in Washington, D.C. says they have not totally removed that it's like sitting around somewhere like in an envelope. I have no idea. It's so insane. Here's another great story. How about Elon buying Twitter? I mean, that's got to be there were so many people that were telling me, no, he's never going to do it. He just made the bid, but he's not going to buy it. It's never going to happen. It happened, folks. It happened. Elon Musk bought Twitter April 2022. I am a huge fan of Elon Musk and free speech. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe in our nation. I believe in the people's right and their rights to be able to discern for themselves what is right and wrong, and to make the right decisions. I do believe that. I believe that individuals have rights. And I believe that our government needs to stay out of our business for the most part. And they certainly should not be colluding with big tech to tell us what we're able to watch, what we're able to read, what we're able to do. My gosh, between Nina Jankowicz and our FBI, by the way, armed federal agents of the United States government. I want you to think about that. When the FBI goes beyond its reach, when they are messing with big tech or, senior officials in the FBI are extending their reach to spy on someone like a president of these United States or the people around him, or targeting them for political purposes, weaponizing the system against them. I want you to remember that not only do we pay their salaries, but they are armed agents of the United States government. And that is pretty scary. That is pretty scary when you think of the extensive power that some of these officials have taken. And I say that for a reason. I absolutely believe in law enforcement and what they do. I've had many friends in the FBI, in law enforcement, who are just as shocked by what their agencies have done. And I know that there's so many good people within these agencies, but allowing these senior officials to make their agencies a tool to be used for political purposes is completely un-American, and it is completely wrong. So Elon buying Twitter was a huge win for free speech. Here is Elon letting that sink in. Listen to this. And he's been really great. I mean, his tweets have been great. He has been having fun with everyone. Twitter is more active than it has ever been, minus Keith Olbermann. And a few others who were doxing, actually, Elon Musk and his family. And that is giving away where their locations are, and, others that were doing the same thing. I mean, Elon Musk made it very clear that the one thing that he wouldn't allow is doxing of other people on the platform. And that means giving away their location, which could potentially lead to something very dangerous, right? And that happened with one of his children. And I think that was enough on that. So I don't know, some of them probably have come back, and some of them may not be coming back to Twitter. Other people have decided to leave Twitter for good. So goodbye, good riddance. And that's fine. That's everybody's choice. It seemed like everything was fine with the left when everybody on the right was getting banned for no reason or being shadow banned. And like we've said on previous podcasts, when we went through what was actually happening in the Twitter files, exposed how they had like a back room where they could just shadow ban conservatives. So it looked like you were on there, which I was saying the whole time. I would never grow until Elon Musk came on. It was like people said they couldn't even see my tweets. So people were being shadow banned. Yes, they were. It was a different way of doing it. And there is suspicion that direct messages were also being accessed by Twitter employees. So all the private messages, or that people thought were private, between each other were probably being targeted by employees of Twitter. So that is really, to me, it's crazy. It's crazy that they would go that far, but they did. I want to know, did they share any of those direct messages with politicians or people in the FBI? That would be interesting to know. What about the overturning of Roe versus Wade? That is an incredible story. That's a story that I feel is like probably one of the greatest things that happened this year. And why? Well, because I believe in protecting innocent life, but I also believe in the rights of the states. I believe that it is a state right. I don't believe this should be, it should have never been a national issue like this. Every state has the right. We are a republic to decide what they want, what it wants to do, right? We are a republic. That is what we are. And so I think that the Supreme Court did the right thing, putting the power back into the hands of the state. I think what really stunned me was, especially when I was traveling for Sean Hannity and going out and interviewing, young women who were protesting the decision by the Supreme Court. And I was talking to different young women. I think what stunned me was how little some of the young women, even very educated women that I saw in, that came from Georgetown or George Mason, and they were in, the DC area, and they were protesting. They really didn't have any connection to, the unborn child, the idea of it being a life, not even Some of them not even past the 9 months, right? I think that's what blew my mind. It was like, they talked about abortion parties. I couldn't even believe that. That to me was upside down world. It made me sick. They talked about, being able to end and terminate life up until the 9th month. I couldn't understand why these young girls who were just beautiful young girls, they looked beautiful, they were young, they had their whole lives ahead of them, why they would be so enraged at this decision by the Supreme Court and why they would be so at ease talking to me about these children and, about ending their lives and about how they had the right to do it and that it was in their body and they could eliminate that at any time. And, I always see the human body, and especially me, and I've had children. Yes, I have. And my husband and I have 6 between us, and I carried 3 of those children. And for me, having a child was like the most amazing experience of my life. I always felt so blessed, like I was the universe, like this child was growing inside me. And like we created this beautiful life, and that this individual would have all of these opportunities and amazing adventures ahead of them. And that I was responsible for this beautiful child. And I always, it just surprised me that so many young women now don't see that they're not proud of this gift that nobody else can have. I mean, of course, men cannot have babies. I'm just laying it out there. Okay. I'm just laying it out there. But that it's a very special gift, right? And it's kind of like the whole beginning of everything. So overturning Roe versus Wade was beautiful to me. It was something that I actually believe in both constitutionally and morally. So give it back to the states. Let the states make the decision. But I am a true believer in life and a true believer in life and the gift of life and all those little babies out there that are being saved from this. Thank God. What about Biden's nuclear waste expert caught stealing women's luggage? Okay, I just talked about Nina Jankowicz. So weird. But we have another weird situation where the Biden administration, in order to be like hip, I guess, puts this, transgendered guy who I don't even know how he describes himself, Sam Britton, as the head of the nuclear waste program at the U.S. Department of Energy. And then he's caught stealing women's luggage. This is December 2022. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. They've got video of him walking out with other women's luggage. In fact, he never returned it. It wasn't an accident, guys. He took it home. He was probably wearing the same clothes that were in that luggage. It's like weird. And he's done it before. This isn't some kind of like, oh, I accidentally picked up someone's luggage because it looked exactly like mine. No. He got the Vera Bradley bag and he took it. It's some kind of weird fetish. He has these weird fetishes. I mean, here's a guy in charge of our nuclear waste with all these weird sexual fetishes. By the way, some of it is open. It's actually online. You can see these pictures of him. He's posted of himself. And they're putting him in charge of something that's very sensitive and needs a lot of security, which is our nuclear waste at our U.S. Department of Energy. And the Biden administration just throws national security out the window. We've seen that with the border all year. Ever since Joe Biden took office, he doesn't care about our national security. This is just another crazy story, another like insane moment in America under President Joe Biden. I tell you, I can't wait for 2023 because, well, I mean, granted, 2022, some of these stories were funny, but on their face, pretty scary. It was like watching one of those crazy movies that it's like a bad train wreck and you can't stop watching it. It's like putting the insane in charge of the insane asylum. That is literally what's been happening under the Biden administration. And that's literally the nation we've been living in for a while. I think what keeps us happy and sane is that we know there's still a lot of people in this country, a good majority, I believe, that don't want this anymore, that are done with it. We're done with the woke. We're done with the Sam Brittons. We're done with the Nina Jankowiczes and the weird 1984. We are just done with it. We are ready to move on to a whole new year. And I'm going to, right after we come back from this break, I am going to come to your comments and I'm going to respond to all of the amazing comments that I've seen on YouTube and Twitter and everywhere else, because you are the reason for the season. You are the reason for this show. Thank you. So here we go. Here's some comments that our producers here at Radio America have pulled forward here on the Sara Carter Show. And I am going to respond to some of these comments. Let's see. This is from YouTube. I have at Nikos Ogrekos, and you said the rhinos, yeah, tell me about it, must be removed. All our fallen heroes worldwide for every country must be spinning in their graves now, seeing they died for nothing. And this is about Afghanistan. This is about the horrible withdrawal from Afghanistan, our government basically turning over the entire country to the Taliban, even before we could get Americans out or our allies. He said, the freedom they fought for has been stolen before our very eyes. This saddens me so much as I lost so many relatives in World War II who died for our freedom. I feel for you at Nikos Ogrekos. You know, my husband lost his eyesight. We lost some of our best friends in Afghanistan, and I covered the war there for many, many years. And it breaks my heart to see what has happened to that nation and see what has happened to our nation. And I want to let you know that we will be covering that region of the world in our podcast and in future podcasts coming up in 2023, because I believe it'll still be important to us. We turned over everything to the Taliban and basically made them the most wealthy, I would imagine, and the most military adept terrorist organization in the world because of what we left behind. And we left a lot more behind than just money and military equipment. Here we have at Blue Bully 3104. He says, or she says, this is crazy. Soon it's going to be a state within a state. The cartels and the Democrats against the decent people and Republicans. My question is, are there any Democrats with a conscience left in the Senate to vote against their own party and save the country? Great show and interview, Sara. Thank you so much at Blue Bully 3104. I have to believe there are. We have, Democrats that I don't agree with totally on policy, but I do agree with some issues that they are fighting for. One of them is Henry Cuellar here in Texas, and he has been outspoken against what is happening at the border, and he has been very upset about what's been happening with the Biden administration, has made that very well known. He is, of course, in charge of a border area that his constituents are in here in Texas, and so that makes a difference as well because it's directly affecting his constituents. But let me tell you this. I've known Cuellar, and I know there's others, since the Obama administration have been covering him. And he has always been consistent. He has never been a flip-flopper. He has always stood his ground when it comes to the border. So there is some hope there. And I do believe we've seen it. Yeah, I can't stand, Governor Gavin Newsom of California. I think he's a big hypocrite, but he's really feeling the pressure from his constituents. So I think the answer here is this. As long as all of us put the pressure on the people we put in office and tell them, hey, look, we're not going to put up with this anymore. We're going to vote you out. I think putting that pressure on them is going to shift their policies and change the way they are. If we just sit back and do nothing, then nothing will happen. And they may just go the opposite direction, but they want to get back in office. So let's put the pressure where the pressure is due on those lawmakers, and then those lawmakers will put the pressure on the executive branch. That's how it works. As long as we're involved, we have a fighting chance. Okay, these are from Twitter, responding to your post on terrible Dow Jones numbers. At Thomas Mathis 19, it's all a plan to make everyone depend on the government. It will never happen here. You know, I do believe that there is a reason why we are seeing in other nations, you know, this kind of removal, and we're seeing it in the United States to some extent. We're moving towards a cashless society, right? We're watching what's happening economically across the board, not just in the United States, but our dependence on, you know, China, for crying out loud. A communist nation like China it's amoral. The government of China is amoral, not the people. The people are doing their best to stand up to this amoral government. But think about how much money we literally have borrowed from nations like China, and the fact that they control a lot of our national security. I'll give you an example. And it does scare me. At Tom Mathis 19, it does scare me. I mean, our antibiotics, a good over 90% are made in China. Our PPE equipment, there were reports that some of our military equipment was being made there. Everything we have is shipped over. Our marketing, you know, and being marketed in China, being brought back to the United States. Why are we doing this? And now we can see that even in our own government, look at what happened in Canada. The truckers, right? Anybody who donated to the truckers, their bank accounts were being locked down. I mean, the banks were literally siding with the government there. And by the way, in the United States too. Do you remember when they tried to shut down Lieutenant General Michael Flynn's account, his bank account, because they didn't like his politics? I mean, this is crazy stuff. This is what we talked about earlier in this podcast. You know, you and I, it's the 1984. I'm seeing exactly what you're saying, Thomas Mathis 19. It will never happen here. I know that because Americans will not stand for that. Only if we pay attention. Only if we open our eyes. We have had guests on this show that have shown us that when we shut our eyes, when we shut our minds, when we follow like sheep, like what happened during COVID, we could end up losing everything. And COVID-19 won't be the only time. I know we're coming. This is the end of the year. We're going to be Happy New Year. Yes, because we are going to remember what we stand for, our Constitution and everything else, right? That makes our nation so great. But the minute we give that away, guys, the minute we give it away, whether you choose to believe me or not, getting it back will be almost impossible. It will be a fight. That's a fact. Just look at history. Look at what's happening in the rest of the world. Oh, here's a good one. At Lowdog 1974, at Lowdog 1974, responding to my story on the release of the arms dealer Victor Boot. I don't want any more lectures on gun control from the Biden administration. Full stop. Me neither. They let go of the merchant of death. They traded the merchant of death. They left a Marine behind for our basketball player. I don't want to see her there. I didn't even know that basketball players were playing, female basketball players were playing in Russia. I didn't even know that. But trading for Victor Boot, I actually knew several people actually that were on the detail to capture Victor Boot when he was taken into custody by the United States. And that was a very intense manhunt for a very dangerous man. He is the Lord of war. He did not care who he was selling weapons to, how many people died. He is one of the worst of the worst. And do you want to watch what's going to happen now that he's out again? And by the way, that's how Vladimir Putin made all of his money. He and Victor Boot, buddies. Vladimir Putin has lined his coffers with the death of others. And there is a reason why they call Victor Boot the merchant of death. He's put weapons all over Africa. He has done things you can't even imagine. And for our law enforcement officials, just like my husband and all the men that felt like and women that got kicked in the gut when Biden just turned the keys to the kingdom in Kabul before everybody got out, just turned the keys to the kingdom over to the Taliban, leading to the deaths, yes, of 13 Marines. and all of those people waiting in line at Abbey Gate. And now they release arms dealer Victor Boot, but then they're going to tell you that you can't have a gun, that guns are bad, that you're a terrible person for believing in the Second Amendment. That's just such BS. Yeah, I agree with you, Low Dog. You know what, Biden? You can just shut up when it comes to gun control because you no longer have an argument to make it. Here's Facebook. Facebook, we have, this is in response to the story we did about it taking 769 days and 2 elections for the mainstream media to admit that the Hunter Biden laptop was real. That's got to be so crazy too, guys. Think about it. They lied to you. They lied to everybody in America. The FBI did, Twitter did, Facebook did, all of the social media platforms that hid this story, and the mainstream media, New York Times, Washington Post, just like they lied about Trump Russia, they lied about the Hunter Biden story. They literally used the weapons that they were trained to use against other nations and enemies against you. Disinformation campaign against the United States people and against a U.S. president, and they interfered in an election. And that was at Colby Haggard. She said, our MSM is an embarrassment to our country. They no longer believe in free speech. Reporting is based on supporting a political agenda, and truth and facts are not important. Guess what, Colby? I totally agree with you. And I think it is a sad day, but I do believe that we are not going to put up with it, that the American people are smarter than that. And thank God for Elon Musk, and thank God for people like him, and all of us here, you, me, everyone who is going to fight for our First Amendment and fight for our right to know the truth so that we can make the right decisions. There was obvious election interference in the last election in 2020, obvious election interference, and the truth was kept from the American people. I'll be right back. Hey, folks, before I wrap up, I want to share some of my New Year's resolutions with you. I could say that I would drink no more coffee in this coming new year, but that's never going to happen. That is not going to happen. I might do it. I might do it for Lent. I might give it up for then. Let's do that. But that's just going to be too tough for me. In fact, my 23andMe says that because of the person that I am, I guess I was just born with it. I process coffee faster than most people, and I tend to drink more of it. So, okay, it's an idea. I'm throwing it out there. I'm letting it float in the universe, but I don't think I'm going to be able to give that up. What I will do, and I would, I think this is important. I want to give 1 hour a week of my time. And I think this is something that we can all do, right? To do something outside of myself, something I didn't think I would do, right? To help either 1 hour a week helping with my daughter's school, or maybe going to a nursing home and spending an hour, reading to somebody who doesn't have a family, or talking to them, or finding something that I would have never done before and do it now with somebody that I don't even know, right? Or helping someone who's less fortunate, or working with someone who might need a friend. I don't know, just doing something outside of myself, right? I think that's going to give me more perspective. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to set up that goal. I'm going to set that goal up with my kids and see what we can do. And I'm going to try to make that a part of my life, right? A part of my life, whether I share that on Instagram or I don't, because maybe some things will be private. People don't want that. Or maybe just going out to the Rio Grande River and picking up the trash for 1 hour. Like, I could start that, next week when I'm down on the border, right? There are things that we can do to make our world a better place. And I think sometimes when we take a step outside of ourselves, I don't know if this is true for you, but it is for me, that sometimes when you're all wrapped up in your own life, things can feel tough, right? because you're overthinking things. But when you give to somebody else, when you spend some time giving back, that just makes us feel good. That just makes you feel good, right? You just feel better about yourself, and the world is a little bit brighter, and it's a better place to be, right? So maybe that will be my goal this year. My New Year's resolution is to remember that there are other people in the world, and taking more time to listen to them, taking more time to be a part of their lives. And also, just staying more in touch with my friends and with my family, and making sure that I make time for them. That's top of the list too. And if I can get to it, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on Instagram. I don't grow Instagram. I don't know how. It just seems like too much sometimes, right? But I think Instagram's kind of fun, and it's a nice place where we could share ideas, and it's much more visual, right? Video and everything like that. So I'm going to do that a little bit. Anyways, thank you so much for being a part of the Sara Carter Show this past year. It has been an amazing year. You have been an amazing part of my life. You really, really have. Again, I love reading all of your reviews, your ideas, your thoughts. That is really important to me. And I like to listen. I want to hear what you want. I want to hear what guests you'd like to have on the show and where you'd like this show to go. So please feel free to do that. So follow me on Twitter at Sara Carter DC, on Instagram at SCarterDC, and on Truth at Sara Carter Official. God bless you, and God bless our great nation, each and every one of us. And pray for the world. We're going to need it. We have another year before the next election.